let's say that we are an investor, a real estate investor, and we teach people how to do wholesaling, which to me, by the way, is not actual investing. Technically, it's more of a job than an investment because it doesn't pay us when we don't do anything. It only pays us when we work on it. So it's kind of like we only eat what we kill. It's a little bit different, not to complicate it. Now, let me get out of there for a second. Let's say that you teach people how to wholesale and you've done some wholesales, but you haven't done all of the things. Well, don't teach the things that you haven't yet done, that you haven't yet experienced, that you haven't accomplished, that you don't really know how it goes or how it feels to be in there. And I'm absolutely guilty of it because when I had a real estate podcast, I would teach all sorts of real estate investing strategies that I had heard, that I had learned, but I hadn't done them all. So for example, I would teach some things where they're called wraparound mortgages. And I would teach how to do it, but I never had experienced it myself. And so I recall thinking when I recorded those episodes, I recall thinking like, I hope this is really how you do it. I think I understand it. I think that I heard it right, but like I had never really done it. And so if I went back into history, if I could go back into time, and now that I've learned this, I might change. I might make a couple of tweaks to that. I might say, hey, I've learned a little bit about this, maybe enough to get me into trouble. I think it kind of works like this. And I'm going to have a person as a guest on my show who can teach how he did it or how she did it. Versus me being there trying to teach something that I hadn't yet done. Now on that podcast, obviously I taught many things that I had done. I was really good with creative real estate and thinking outside the box and always figuring out a way. And I was really good at grabbing the details and learning from other people's experience, but I didn't try everything. And if I could just go back into history, if I could go back into time, I would probably switch that. I would probably tweak that. And out of how many episodes have we done on this podcast so far? 500-ish episodes? I'm not sure. It just keeps building and building and building. After several hundred on this podcast and 1,200 total episodes that I've done, I've learned a little bit, but I also realized that there's probably a time or two that there was something in podcasting that I hadn't yet experienced, but I taught on it or I professed from it from a standpoint of experiential. And what I'm thinking and hoping through this theme, through my buddy who came back to social after months and the guy who coaches and their thoughts on how we really ought to be coming from that right place, it's giving me that vigor, that enthusiasm to think, okay, what is it that I really have done that I could share my experience from? Because when it becomes, here's the secondary part to this, here's the last piece to why this is important. It's important because it puts you in your zone of what you're comfortable with and from where your experiences are, and helps you feel like you're in integrity with yourself and in alignment with yourself and your values. But additionally, when you are able to teach something from how you've seen it or how you've experienced it, what it really does is it gives you an edge. So it gives you an additional uniqueness compared to anyone else who is teaching that. So if somebody else is teaching it, regardless if they've experienced it or not. So what I mean is, even if they have experienced it, they will share it from their point of view. Or if they're regurgitating, they'll share it from somebody else's point of view. But when you go start sharing your information and your story from your point of view and your perspective, the beautiful thing that happens on top of just feeling like you're in alignment is that you also are going to be able to share with your listener something that comes uniquely from you, from your perspective, and it's going to be different from any of the other content that they can get. So with number 2, it's like, if all you're doing is just regurgitating somebody else's truth, then it's something that can be copied and mimicked in multiple different ways. But when you're regurgitating your own truth, your own experience, then it's going to be able to come across as a uniqueness that differentiates you from your competitors, you from the other podcasters in your space. And that's going to help you to be able to be a better coach, a better mentor, a better podcaster, and hopefully a better business person when you are able to share your own experiences.